So we will continue with the characteristics of new media. We have already discussed about hypertextuality, interactivity, and multimedia features of new media. Another important characteristics of new media is interpersonal communication media. I have already discussed about it earlier. Then interactive play media, which is another characteristics of new media. This includes the virtual reality devices and computer-based video games. If we compare these brands of new media and old media, we will find that the main difference lies in interactivity. This feature is already been discussed. Then we have collective participatory media. The This category includes the uses of internet for sharing and exchanging information, ideas, and experience, and developing active relationship. So, one example of collective participatory media is wiki. A wiki enables documents to be written collectively in a very simple markup language using a web browser. Most wikis will allow complete unrestricted access so that people are able to contribute to the site without necessarily having to undergo a process of registration. Wikis function as social software acting to foster communication and collaboration with other users. I would also like to mention about collective intelligence. The term is coined by French cyber theorist Pierre Levy, who refers the collective intelligence as the process of collectively consuming media and consequently sharing common knowledge about it. The knowledge of thinking community is no longer a shared knowledge, for it is now impossible for a single human being or even a group of people to master all knowledge, all skills. It is fundamentally collective knowledge. Then we have information search media. Internet and www is a significant example which has been the source of data of unprecedented volume. As we all know that the World Wide Web is the vast storehouse of information, but finding information that fits one specific requirement demands certain background information and skills. There are two main ways in which one may search the web by using directories and search engine. So web as an informational search medium, if I have to discuss, I will specifically look at directories and search engine. Directories are indexes of websites classified hierarchically, and different directories do this classification in somewhat different ways. Among the most popular are those of Yahoo, Google, and About.com. Google began as a research project in January 1996 by Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They developed the hypothesis that a search engine based on analysis of the relationship between websites. Yahoo is the oldest major directory on the web, launched in mid 1994. Um, If you see the Yahoo directory, which is perhaps the most popular directory, how it organizes the web under certain headings like art and humanities, business and economy, then computer and internet, education, etc. Each of this is further divided uh, into subclasses, like art and humanities is subdivided into photography, history, literature, etc. Under literature come authors, award, banned books, chats and forums, classics, etc. For some region, however, it is accessible through the directory link on the international site of Yahoo, but not from that link on the Indian site of Yahoo. For Google directory, which has already merged with Netscape Demos Open Directory, at its first level, we have art, business, computers, games, recreation, reference, etc. Under reference, if you take, one finds education, libraries, maps, etc. Under education, alumni directories, college and universities, then distance learning subjects are grouped into. And the subject index has around more than 38 entries, such as archaeology, art sciences, philosophy, and all. The philosophy index is divided further into categories and web pages. The first has academic departments, ethics, organizations, then philosophy for children and writing guides. And each of these in turn has its own sub-indexes. Then we see search engine. Perhaps the most popular tool for searching the web is the search engine. It is the class of computer program that search the web for sites matching keywords and key phrases typed in by users in their search field. So, what are web search engines? A web search engine is an interactive tool that helps to locate documents on the internet containing terms being searched by the user. Search engine use the bottom-up approach. How? And this is specifically for finding your way around the web. So you give a list of keywords or phrases called a query to a search engine, and it returns to you a list of web pages that contain those words or phrases. In other words, search engines are actually databases that contain references to thousands of resources. Users are able to interact with the databases, submitting queries that ask the database if it contains resources that match specific criteria. Some search engines search only the title of the web page, some by Uniform Research Locator URL, some by words in its documents in a website, and some by combination of these. So you see that each search engine has its own way of deciding which of the web pages on its list is most likely to be one that you are looking for. So there are probably several hundreds of search engines, and there are sites such as search engine Colossus. I have already given you the link, and search engine Watch that specialize in listing and providing news updates on search engines from across the world. Different engines often use different algorithms for searching the web according to keywords provided by users and ranking the search results. While it is to some extent a matter of personal preference, different people like different search engines. The most popular one today is Google. Many prefer Tauma, which is more recent than Google, and others continue to use the older one like Yahoo, AltaVista, Lycos, Exile, etc. Meta search engine, that is also another significant component of search engine, constitute a subclass of programs within this group. These engines, such as XGibs, Dogpile, and Metacrawler, send out queries to a number of normal search engines and present the results to the user. So we see that there is an art in designing queries that results in the search engine returning a useful list to you. Given the vast number of web pages, a query that is too general may fill literally millions of web pages. Most of them useless, seem to be useless to you. A query that is quite specific may miss many web pages that you would have liked to see. So each engine is also defined as an online utility that quickly searches thousands of web documents for a word or phrase being searched. Search engines are usually accessed by web clients called web browser. Each search engine produces different search options and has its own peculiarities. Search engines also differ greatly in types of resources they allow users to search. Many search engines offer both search and browse interfaces. There are search engines available on the web. A web search engine provides an interface between the user and the underlying database. The interface presents the user with a place to type in a search string, which may be a word, phrase, date, or some other criteria, and a way to submit the request. Some of the most common search engines are AltaVista, WebCrawler, Lycos, and then Yahoo, Infosec, Google, as we have already mentioned. Then we see that search engines are information retrieval system designed to help finding information stored on a computer system. There are many types of search engines, but we would limit our discussion to web search engines which search for information on World Wide Web. Search engines were started with an idea to ease the process of finding information on the internet. Nobody had any idea at that time the way it will turn internet business. Now you see that a search engine consists of three parts. First part is the spider, which is called the crawler or bot. The spider part visits a web page, reads it, and then follow links to other pages within the site. This process is often referred to as crawling or spidering. Crawling of the website is done on a very regular basis. The spider visits a website following links from other website and website submission it receives. The content of the spider finds the content that spider finds is actually sent to the database or index as it is popularly known. This index is like a huge book that contains a copy of web page or cache that the spider finds out. This constitutes the second part of the search engine. It also stores the structure and the way pages are linked to each other. This information would be updated every time there is a change in content or linking. So you come to learn about the search criteria. Search engine use softwares like spiders and robots to survey the web and build their databases. Spiders or robots are software programs the search engine companies create to search thoroughly the web and index sites. They create massive databases that the engine then use to return search results. Web documents are retrieved and indexed. Once the spider get to the website, they typically index most of the words on the publicly available pages at the site. Web page owners may submit their URLs to search engines for crawling and eventual inclusion in their databases. It is important to remember then mm, when you are using a search engine, you are not searching the entire web as it exists at this moment. You are actually searching a portion of this web captured in a fixed index created at an earlier date. Whenever you search the web using a search engine, you are asking the engine to scan its index of sites and match your keywords or phrases with those in the text of the documents within the engine's database. The basic matches are then returned to you as hits. So here I would like to have brief mention about different types of search engines. So we have meta search engines. In meta search engine, you submit keywords in its search box and it transmits your search simultaneously to several individual search engines and their databases of web pages. Within a few seconds, you get back the results from all the search engines queries. Meta search engines do not own a database of web pages. They send your search terms to the databases maintained by search engine companies. So the idea of meta searching is much better than the reality in most of the cases. You would think that you save a lot of time by searching only in one place or sparing the need to use or learn several separate search engines. Example of meta search engines are SurfWebs, then QBSearch, etc. Then we have new search engines. New search engines are designed to search for the latest news stories from hundreds of sources on the web. This service provides exceptionally good results for current event searching because they crawl only news sites and revisit the site several times a day. Thus, the results are usually focused and timely. For example, newsyahoo.com is a Yahoo News search engine. Then we have Keith search engine. The search engines are designed primarily to serve the needs of the children, either in focus or by filtering out sites that some parents and teachers might find inappropriate for kids. This usually includes sites that deal with violence, hate speech, gambling, and drug use. For example, Yahooligans is a unique service designed for kids of age brackets of 7 to 12. Sites are handpicked to be appropriate for children. Also, unlike normal Yahoo, searches will be forwarded to Yahoo's search engine partner if there is no match from within the Yahooligans listing. So this prevents possibly objectionable sites from slipping onto the screen. Yahooligans is the oldest major directory for children, launched in March 1996. Then we have multimedia search engines. Multimedia search engine will help you to locate sound, image, or video files. For example, Alta Vista Photo Finder is an impressive service that lets you find photos, image, audio, and video clips from all across the web, and search results feature thumbnails of images found. Then you have legal search engines. Legal search engines are designed to help you to find legal information and law related websites. For example, law crawlers. Lawcrawler is a Google powered search engine and that usually return information only from sites that have been identified as dealing with legal issues. So based on the searching criteria, we have keyword searching and concept based searching. Keyword searching, which is the most common form of text search on the web. Most search engines do their text query and retrieval using keywords. Unless the author of the web document specifies the keywords for his documents, it's up to the search engine to determine the word. Especially, this means that search engines pull out and index words that are believed to be significant. Words that are mentioned towards the top of the document and words that are repeated several times throughout the documents are more likely to be deemed important. Some sites index every word on every page. Other index only part of the document. For example, Lycos indexes the title, headings, subheadings, and hyperlinks to other sites along with the first 20 lines of text. Then we have concept-based searching. Unlike keyword search system, concept-based search system try to determine what you mean, not just what you say. In the base circumstances, concept-based search returns hits on documents that are about the subject or theme you are exploring, even if the words in the documents do not precisely match the words you enter into the query. For example, the word heart, when used in the medical and health context, would be likely to appear with such words as coronary artery, lungs, stroke, cholesterol, pump, blood, attack, etc. If the word heart appears in a document with others word like flowers, candy, a very different context is established and the search engine returns hit on the subject of romance. Excite is currently the best known general purpose search engine on the web that relies on concept based searching. There is also uh, another type that is known as clustering, which essentially means that words are examined in relation to other words found nearby, which is a part of concept based searching. So we come to learn that from the perspective of search criteria for an effective search, it is best to enter as many search terms or phrases which exactly qualify the subject in which you are interested. The more precise you are by offering more adjective terms, the better are the results. So you have basic search, you have advanced search, and you have case sensitive search. Apart from that, there are also other kind of searches. Most search engine search their database using keyword. A user types a word or words called keyword that he or she would like to search. The search engine then locate that word in the database. After conducting the search, the list of sites that matches the requested keywords are produced as a result. Then advanced search, where different search engines have different methods of finding information. Options for advanced search may differ from one search engine to another, but some common features include ability to search, such as to exclude words that are not required in a search requested by the user. Then there is also case sensitivity, which refers to the ability of search engines to distinguish between upper and lowercase letters. Such terms entered in the lowercase letters are case insensitive. Most search engines are not case sensitive, but others may distinguish between lowercase and uppercase letters. The use of capitalized term makes the search case sensitive. So that is case sensitivity. Okay. So before we look at more about web as an informational search medium for journalists, and even for you, we see that the overabundance of information on the web presents the user with certain difficulties. Depending on the keyword and the search engine used, a single search may yield anything from 10 to millions of web addresses. For instance, a search for online journalism with Google yielded about 5 lakhs 20,000 results, including URLs and addresses, in a mere 0.11 seconds. Obviously, the journalist or anyone else who wishes to use this powerful tool needs some way of separating the wheat from the chaff. Before describing the evaluation process of information, however, it needs to be noted that the volume of search results can and should be limited to a careful selection of keywords. This vastly simplifies the task of elimination through evaluation. When the term online journalism in Google search field had been typed without the quotation mark, typing the same two words with the quotation marks bring down the numbers of search results to about 391,000 in 0.32 or 30 seconds. In other words, the new search returned less than 12 of the addresses and took almost three times as long as the first search. And you see why this has happened. This happened because the use of quotation mark. You have a quotation mark has limited the search to those pages on which the adjective phrase was present, and that is the two words were present together and in the very order in which they had been typed. In the first search carried out without the quotation mark, the Google search engine searched the web for pages containing either or both of the two words. Such strategies and an understanding of the basic um, this is called Boolean operations and or and not, which are needed for improving the search process and are available uh, in most of the uh, tutorial you not tutorial book internet technology of web design doic level books where you need to find more about search engine. Then we have a shortlisting URL. Once the results list and list of result is returned by the search engine, the two-step elimination process begins. Since it would be impossible to check each of the 391,000 pages for suitably by clicking on the links given and viewing the pages that are thereby called up. For that matter, it would be very difficult to check even 391 pages in that way. First step, therefore, consists in eliminating individual results simply by looking at the URL. If the URL contains what appears to be a person's name, such as Kopu M or Malakar Kopu, or you say uh, Mala Kopu, sometimes after a title sign or a percentage sign or a word like users, members, and people, the server belongs to a commercial internet service providers and is likely that the page in question is someone's personal page. This is not sufficient ground at all for rejecting this page, but in such cases, the journalist needs to carefully investigate the identity and background of the page owner because in such cases, the domain owners say Yahoo's GeoCities web hosting service and Lyco's tripod service doesn't contain responsibility for the information contained in the pages. Next, one needs to look at the match between the kind of information source one is looking for and the type of domain to which the page belongs. For instance, if one wants to find information on lung cancer, it may not be wise to choose a site in the .com domain because such a site would be linked to pharmaceutical companies or tobacco companies, both of which are likely to have their own agendas. It might be safer to use sites in the government uh, domain or educational domain or .tech, .edu, .gov, .org or the new or relatively rare you see research domain res domains. However, this presents problems in certain cases. In India, for instance, government websites are yet to be standardized in terms of domains while sites of various ministries and departments of governments of India are mostly in the .nic in domain. A third point to note is whether the publisher, the person and the entity that owns the server is appropriate for the kind of information uh, one is looking for. An example will be helpful in illustrating this point. Uh, I'll give you that example. Suppose a web page named RMA may publish a report purportedly from Indian Express, but it is not the original source, whereas the original source of the report is Indian Express, nor does it contain any copyright or permission statement from the Indian Express. In that case, it would be unacceptable for you as a journalist as a legitimate reference and a page that he uses RMA page as a source of information. And then it would be of no value for even other researcher unless of course the topic of the research is improper practice of reproducing information prevalent on the web. So in terms of shortlisting URL, you can simply delete the part of the URL from the right until you reach the domain, and you will actually find to know the page is from which site and which belongs to an organization or any kind of company or other domain. Then we will look into the evaluation of pages. Once the shortlisting of URL has been made through this process of elimination, one needs to visit the pages on the shortlist by clicking on the selected links given on the results. Mhm. And check the actual pages for suitability. First, one needs to look for links that read about us, philosophy, background, biography, who am I, who we are, etc. This usually appear on the periphery of the page. If none of these can be found on the page, the URL has to be truncated back step by step, that is the string of characters that appear after each black slash sign, deleting one string at a time, and the pages that open with the truncated URL uh, checked for above links. This may have to continue until one reaches the backslash sign immediately after the domain, that is .com, .edu, .government or .gov, etc. Then if one of these links is found at any stage of their exercise, the page that opens with the link should provide some information about the identity of the author and the publisher. This may be either the individual or the organizations, and some identification uh, can be possible uh, for putting up the page. Uh, so in that case, someone should claim responsibility for the page. If no such name of a person or organization can be found, it would not be wise to use the information contained in the page. If some information on the credentials of the authors or publishers is found, the user needs to decide whether this qualifies them to write on the subject matter of the page. Since publishing on the web is inexpensive, thousands of people put up pages on every conceivable topic with diverse intention and motives. Therefore, the intending users of such information has to be extremely careful in selecting the pages. You should exercise at least the same degree of caution as mm, you would usually do with printed matter, perhaps even more. Uh, Also, you need to ask yourself certain questions like, is the author simply a hobbyist? Is the content of the page merely some individuals or organization's opinion, is there any reason to believe its content more than that of any other pages? Does the content um, contain an extreme view, possibly distorting or exaggerating facts? So one needs to look for a date with the words last updated or something to that effect. Usually, this is, I will say that this can be found at or near the top of the page or at the bottom of the page. This will tell you whether the information in the page is current or dated. However, a page that has not been updated recently is not necessarily useless. It will be useful if one is looking for information on events that has taken place in the past. As for example, a search for Joe Biden timeline brings us to a BBC page titled Timeline Joe Biden Presidential Election. So, although the page has not been updated since you say 7 November of 2020, it has several possible uses for anyone wishing to write on US presidential election. So, as a journalist, you must look for other pages for information on developments that have taken place since 7 November to 2020. And the point I'd like to stress here is that one needs to know, and you also need to know when the page was last updated and whether it is current or not. There should be a match between your requirement and this date. If a page has passed this test in the eye of the user, or in your eye, the next step is to evaluate the quality of information it offers. An important indicator of quality is the presence of references to the sources from which the information has been culled, in the form of footnotes or links appearing as links, additional sites, related links, etc. Are sources documented with footnotes or links? If there is links, if there is link to other pages as sources, are they reliable sources? Do the links work? Uh, Though meant primarily for you using the web for research, there are some explanation also which will be quite helpful uh, if you opt for online journalism. In scholarly and research work, the credibility of most writing is proven through footnote documentation or other means of revealing the sources of information. Links that do not work do not help strengthening the credibility of your research. If material is reproduced from other sources, the user needs to ensure that it is complete and has not been altered from the original and is not fake or forced. The question to ask here are, is it retyped? If so, it could easily have been altered. Are permissions to reproduce and copyright information provided? If there are no links to the original source, even though it is online, is there a reason for this? So you see that if you find a piece taken from a reputable media outlet, newspaper, magazine, radio station, television channel, or website, or journal, or other publications reproduced on the page being evaluated, it should be accompanied by the copyright statement and or permission to reprint. If there is no such entry, you need to treat this page with doubt or suspicion. If the page provides a reference link to another page as its source of information, but the URL of the latter is not the original source, there is a possibility that it might have been illegally reproduced in the latter and the text might have been altered even if the copyright information is present. Next, it is important to check what others think of the page that you are evaluating. This can be done by finding out whether other pages put up by other people link to this page. This can be done by typing link without quotation mark in the same search field of Google or Yahoo. Then post the page's URL after the colon mark and pressing the enter key. By posting the URL in the search field, the user or you may be able to find more information of this kind in addition to a list of sites that link to the page, traffic rank of the page, reviews on it, site statistics, and contact and ownership related information. If the links are from the same site as the page being evaluated, obviously this should not count as recommendations. However, the user or you need to pay attention to external links, that is, links from other sites, even if these are from fans or critics. One may also look up reputable directories such as about.com and infomine for entries on the page. Since these directories mention a very small percentage of all existing websites, a mention is an indication of certain degree of quality. A variety of intentions or motives are at work behind the billions of pages being put up on the web. The online journalist needs to ask what the intention or motive of the author or the publisher might be. Some possibilities are to inform, give facts, give data, explain something, persuade someone about something, sell something, entice someone, share something, or disclose something. If you are an online journalist, as a journalist, you need to be sensitive to the tone of the piece and ask whether it is humorous, whether it might be parody, whether it might have exaggeration or put forward overblown arguments. You, as an online journalist, need to be careful to check whether that page contains outrageous photographs or a juxtaposition of unlikely images. All this might work as a red flags to the intending user or for you also. And finally, you must look within you to see whether you are being fair in judging the page, whether you will let your personal biases color your judgment. This is all for today. If you have any difficulties, drop a message in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much.